Welcome to another episode of Saline Speaks. I'm Chase Stanton, the station manager at SCTN, and today I'm joined by City Council member Dean Girbach, who was recently re-elected to City Council. And we're going to talk a little bit about your terms on City Council and why you wanted to seek another election and some things going on, and we'll cover a lot. So thank you for being here.
Chase, thanks for inviting me, and I'm ready to participate.
And so are you currently the longest standing member on council?
It depends on how we look at it, but yeah, based on my 2 terms, I will basically be the one that I've served 10 years so far, first 6 years and then 4, and now I'm starting my third of 2 terms, yep.
And so what made you decide you wanted to run again?
I think it's been, a lot of people don't see government as really functioning well, and people have to run, and so I've wanted to run, but there's been things, it's kind of my way to give back to the community. It's also the way I kind of see how my ideas and things can come to fruition and hopefully keep our community going and continuing to be one of the best communities in the area. It's also the idea of part of a legacy. I've always talked about that, being my great-grandfather and my grandfather, and hopefully trying to put something forth for even my niece and nephews and some of my other relatives, that they will see this as something to do in their own, give back to the community.
Now, for anyone who's not familiar, what boards and commissions and other groups are you involved with?
Right now I'm on the Planning Commission. I'm also on the Historic District Commission, and I'm on some of what we call the taxing boards, the local finance development and economic development boards. And each of those has their own responsibilities and stuff that I take on there. I've got a task force that I've been working with the local finance board that is looking at what types of things can we look in terms of improving our economic development within the city. And that group is working with a number of individuals who are owners and other business individuals that are helping to make Saline some place that people want to come and have their businesses develop.
And I forgot to mention, what is your background professionally?
My background professionally is education administration. So I'm the current financial lead manager for the School of Public Health at the University of Michigan. And the other background is out of some other departments. I worked for the School of Dentistry for a while, and also I was in their central financial operations. I basically handle financial accounting, human resources, and other items such as, right now we're currently going through a whole organization restructure, and then trying to assess how that's going to change and work through, just like any other organization. We're all doing special projects, so part of that's is currently my job.
And I've seen that come into play through several council meetings where you've weighed in on topics and you've been able to use that expertise. So coming into your next term, what are some topics and things you really want to tackle?
I think for us is really looking at what will be the impact of some of the other changes that are happening in Lansing, especially with revenue and so forth that could be coming forward. I know we need to look at how we're going to handle funding for our roads, some of the bond issues that we currently are looking at, whether or not we're going to be able to fund it with our current tax rates, or if we have to do some kind of bond issue for roads for those kind of improvements. The other items, definitely US 12 is going to come through, so there's opportunities there that we're going to be focusing on. And then there's also some of the current operational aspects. We need to know how we can continue to do some of the functions that will basically address concerns with how we handle DPW and some of the regional activities. We still know our priorities are police and fire, and getting the services and the sewer and the trash and all of that. But also the other big thing is, now that the economy's picking up, we're going to have to go through the idea of what's going to happen with expansion. New developments are already on our borders. Potentially we need to redevelop things that would help us downtown and some of the other local open spaces. And we have people coming to our door. So Planning Commission, I think, is going to get really busy in the next couple of years. And the idea is to how do we coordinate as well so that we don't overtax everything in the city and really make it beneficial to keep us a good community.
Definitely. Do you have any projects that are kind of pet projects for you? Or?
One of my pet projects recently was getting the clarification on how the historic districts work and some of the aspects of that. We have some great assets and houses and things, and trying to clarify for not only the homeowners to see what's going on, but to really kind of set a standard and approach to which people are consistent. We don't want to necessarily lose out on those buildings and such, with people thinking that we could survive our community, I guess I would say, appearance and so forth by losing those buildings and tearing them down and replacing them with something else that may look modern. I know there's different opinions and everybody looks at that differently. There are areas and there's aspects that we can deal with that, but I think that was one of the things I was really really wanted to get done in my last term. This term, I think it's really dealing with the US 12 and looking at the other aspects of trying to figure out how to get traffic through our town. I would really like to see us focusing with the county and the state, trying to figure out if there's other ways that we can do, not a bypass, but other ways to get some other dirt roads that are not paved at this point, so that we can provide other alternatives for people coming through town. Really, because the issue is US 12, we learned last year when the power line fell that it was a big cutoff and there was no real way to get around, and even that was discussed recently at one of our council meetings with the US 12. So I think we have to start working more with the township and with the county to set some more priorities, and working with the state. There's just some ideas that US 12 is just going to be this thoroughfare that comes through us and can handle everything, and it's getting to a point where it's way beyond what its capacity really could be in the next 5 years. And even though there's ideas that traffic will be reduced, I'm still concerned that we still have just one major thoroughfare, and we need to address that. So that will be one of the things in the next coming years.
And there has been some research done into it so far, hasn't there?
Yeah, and I mean, we basically requested that study be done so that we could see, our idea was we wanted to see about a road diet with trying to address that idea. But we realized that's not going to happen because of the volume of traffic and really the expectations of everyone that comes through. So if we can't do that, then I really think we need to start focusing on using that information and the other things that we know to put the pressure and really get a coordinated regional approach to it, so that we all share in this approach, because we know we're going to continue to grow. Ann Arbor is a booming city. It's where everybody wants to come to. Detroit will be coming back too, but I think Ann Arbor, because of the university, because of all the other aspects that make it such an attraction, we will grow with it, but probably more in residential. And so we need to be able to have all those cars and aspects and transportation and everything else that works together to make us a community that can interact with everyone and meet everyone's needs.
Aside from projects you're working on and different things, is there things about you that you'd like people to know in terms of just as a person, as a council member?
I think one of my ideas is that I really do recognize our historic significance. I'm currently now the treasurer for the Historic Society, and I see where we have our assets that, like the farm and Rensler Farm and the depot, which are areas that are really recognized, and I think people see them. It's really trying to continue to develop those and make them more a destination and something that can continue, because as things transition, as we go through the years, those need to be continued to be lively. So I've been joined that group and started supporting them and helping them out. The other pieces, I mean, I'm hoping to get a building that my father has downtown redeveloped, and working on that one. The other aspects is I'm very supportive of some of the changes and things that we're looking for, like the L8 Larson, and I'm very supportive of the aspects of adding LGBT, like lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender to the state's Civil Rights Act, because I think that's really important, and that it's addressing the issues of getting people that want to stay in our city. And I've been really approaching in our state and really approaching that aspect, because without that kind of mentality, I think a lot of people are not coming into our state or wanting to stay. I've worked with students all my life, and I'm seeing them wanting to leave Michigan for other alternative areas or alternate communities and cities, because they see it as being more opening, but more forward thinking. And so those are kind of the things in my background. The other things, I just enjoy being in Saline and enjoying our events and the people that are in town. I think there's a lot of great individuals that take pride in their city, like I do. I think there's a lot of opportunities for anyone to come to our city and live and be part of the schools and all that. So what I really am is, I think, a big cheerleader kind of, or promoter for the city of Saline, and always am recommending that it's kind of the thing that people should really consider us as being one of the cities that really moves forward, and we should be in a state that does that same thing.
So to finish it out, is there any other topics you'd like to talk about, or anything?
Just from perspective, I'm hoping that people really get more involved in our community. We had the recent town hall meeting the other night, and we had probably about 35 to 50 people show up, considering we're a community of about 10,000 people, it would be helpful if we would have a little more input from other individuals. And I know it's difficult, but as we were discussing earlier, everybody's got a commitment going on. There's things at school, there's their own jobs and all that type of thing. But what we did learn from the group is I think most of the people there felt council is moving ahead and doing well. The other thing is I just think that individuals need to pay attention to what's happening not only here in Saline, but also at the state level and the federal level. And yes, you can be argumentative against it or for it, whatever, but you really need to educate yourself about what the impacts of things are happening. And especially now that there's some serious legislation that potentially could be harmful to individuals and harmful to our city, where tax dollars or things are being redirected in terms of affecting our schools generally and our local community. So what could potentially happen is things are going to be put onto our shelves. We're going to have to pay for them, and people are already concerned about taxes. And so it's this idea of either we're all in it together or it's them against us, and I'm more the one that we're all in this together. There are things that we can do that benefits everyone to make sure that everyone is getting a piece of the pie, and not necessarily everybody gets a bigger piece of the pie to the point where there is no pie left for anyone else. Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of my hope that it is, and I know it may be kind of a foolish approach, but having parents that grew up in the Depression and understood that kind of commitment to the nation and having that kind of commitment to each other is really something that I would like to try and communicate back out to everyone.
Well, I really appreciate you coming in, and hopefully our viewers get to know you a little bit better through this interview, and look for more City Council members' interviews coming up. So thanks
Great.
For watching, and thanks for being here.
Thanks, Chase. Appreciate it.